Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Thursday, August 12th, and we have been going through Ezekiel. We are up to Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 18 this morning. And there's a few things that we're going to pull out of here. One of the things that I really wanted to remind you of is that last week we were seeing God's judgment, that the trumpet is being blown, that the sword is without, that it's got pestilence and it's got famine. We saw that rod of wickedness was there, that God's rod had blossomed and the pride had budded. So all of last week was all about how much God's wrath was coming onto the people. Now today we are getting to the reaction of the people, how the people are responding to that correction. And it's that initial kind of reaction. It's that reaction where they're not really thinking it through. They're not making any changes to their behavior. They're just responding to how rough things have gotten. So in verse 18, it says, they put on sackcloth and horrors cover them. Shame is on all faces and baldness on their heads. Okay, there's a few things to break down in here. In biblical times, when you put on sackcloth, it was for one of two reasons. Either you were in a state of very deep mourning to the point where you were in deep distress, or you had been completely and utterly humiliated. It was a sign of showing that you did not feel well, that things were not going well, that you were very dismayed for some reason. And the horror of turning their back on God and the punishment that came to them brought them to that place where they are putting on sackcloth. That's why it says they put on sackcloth and horror covers them. They are completely aghast with what God is doing here. Now, this shame is on all faces. We know what that looks like. We've all had times where we felt shameful of our behavior. And baldness on their head. Now, baldness was also a symbol of pain or extreme distress. So now we are talking about the people's reaction to God's correction. And this is their very first reaction, that initial, I'm completely horrified at what's happened here. Verse 19, they cast their silver into the streets and their gold is like an unclean thing. And I got very interested in this. Okay, so when you cast silver, normally it would be done within the confines of where you're comfortable and where things are going well and where you're cozy and, you know, kind of like your home environment. But instead of doing it in that home environment where they're comfortable, they're doing it out in the streets. Why is it like that? Well, the pictograph for streets means that they are outside of the wall. They are outside of communing with God. They are outside of being in God's favor. So even the silver and the gold that they have is of no value. It's like it's completely useless for them to have that silver and gold. Continuing on in verse 19, their silver and gold are not to deliver them in the day of wrath of the Lord. So it means even though you have this wealth, even though you have silver and gold, it's not going to help you out in this day of the Lord. They cannot satisfy their hunger or fill their stomachs with it, for it was the stumbling block of their iniquity. So I looked at the pictograph for gold, and it is a house of food. To use the word gold points out that even things they have are of little value because the Lord has the power to take it away. In a famine where food is very, very scarce and there simply is not enough of it, all the gold in the world is not going to correct the fact that there's not enough food. There is still not going to be enough food. The ESV Study Bible said that God's judgment falls, that wealth and resources of ungodly people won't be able to rescue them. Don't pursue material gain because that wealth has no use spiritually. So the bottom line is, no matter how wealthy you are, how much you think you've got it going on, God can take it away. And in this case, God has taken it away from those people. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.